The lamp on the depot post burned low, its yellow light trembling against the falling snow. Clara Whitlock pulled her coat tighter and watched the empty road for the 4th hour. No one came. The train had left 3 hours ago, its whistle still echoing in her ears like a cruel memory. Christmas bells rang from a distant church, bright and cheerful, mocking her with their joy. She was alone. Snow drifted across the platform in soft whispers. Her carpet bag sat beside her, small and worn, everything she owned folded inside. The letter rested in her pocket, its edges soft from being handled too many times. Changed my mind. Found another. Sorry. 3 weeks of travel for 3 short lines of refusal. Clara pressed her fingers against the paper as if it might change, as if the words might rearrange themselves into mercy. She touched the lamppost. The oil was nearly gone. When it died, there would be only starlight and cold, and the terrible decision of what came next. The teaching position she had been promised might still exist. Might, if the town did not judge her too harshly for arriving alone, abandoned, unsuitable. Her breath clouded white in the air. She began to count backward from 100, an old trick to keep panic away. 97, 96, 95. Hoofbeats broke the silence. Clara stood quickly, brushing snow from her skirt. A freight wagon appeared through the darkness, pulled by 2 heavy horses. The driver sat tall, shoulders broad beneath a quality coat. He reined in at the platform, his eyes moving from her face, to her bag, to the dying lamp. "Miss, you waiting on someone?" His voice carried the rough warmth of the frontier. His face was weathered, maybe late 30s, his expression somewhere between concern and confusion. "I was, sir," Clara said, straightening her spine. "Seems I waited poorly." He studied her a moment longer, not leering, only assessing. "Train's been gone 3 hours." "Yes, sir. And you're still here." "Appears so." She could tell he was a rancher by his hands and his posture, the confidence of a man who owned land and worked it. He glanced at the lamp again. No one should spend Christmas on a depot bench. "I've got a guest room and a housekeeper. You'd be proper and warm." Clara's throat tightened. "I'm a stranger." "Sir, why would you?" "Because it's Christmas." He stepped down from the wagon and held out his hand. "And because no one helped me when I needed it once. I remember what cold feels like." "Name's Harrison Brennan." She hesitated only a moment. Behind her, the lamp flickered, nearly done. Ahead was a stranger offering mercy. "Clara Whitlock." She took his hand. "I accept your kindness, Mr. Brennan." He loaded her bag into the wagon bed. As they pulled away, the depot lamp died, darkness claiming the platform. Clara glanced back once, then faced forward. Whatever came next, it could not be colder than what she had left behind. The wagon moved through snow that fell like whispered prayers. Harrison did not press for her story, and she did not offer it. Some mercies lived best in silence. The horse's breath steamed in rhythm, and Clara counted fence posts in the dark to keep her mind steady. "I'm widowed 3 years," Harrison said quietly. "Mrs. Doyle keeps house. You'll have your own room. Lock on the door. Nothing improper about it." "Thank you," Clara said, her voice steadier now. "I appreciate the clarity. Out here, a man's word is his bond. Mine is you'll be safe." Lights appeared ahead, the 2-story house rising from the snow, solid and welcoming. Lamplight glowed in the windows like promises. An elderly woman opened the door before they reached it, shawl wrapped tight. "Lord have mercy," she said. "Harrison, you found someone at the depot." "Mrs. Doyle, this is Miss Whitlock. She needs shelter tonight. Storm's getting worse." "Of course she does," Mrs. Doyle said, her eyes softening. "Come in, dear. Come in out of that cold." The house wrapped around Clara like a blanket. Polished wood floors, a Christmas wreath on the mantel, the smell of pine and bread and something baking. She felt her poverty sharply against the careful wealth of the place, but no one asked questions. Mrs. Curtis W. Doyle showed her to a simple, warm room with a crackling fire and a clean quilt. Downstairs, Harrison poured coffee. He bowed his head briefly in silent grace before drinking. "Storm usually lasts 3 days," he said. "You're welcome to stay until road's clear. Then we'll see what's possible. You're very generous to a stranger. You're not a stranger anymore. You're a guest in my home." That night, Clara cried silent tears of relief and exhaustion, whispering a prayer into the warm room. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. Christmas morning arrived. Quiet, snow piled deep. Over breakfast, Clara shared part of her story. She had come west to marry. He had changed his mind. She hoped a teaching position might still be waiting. Harrison listened without interruption. "Storm decides the timing," he said when she finished. "We'll sort the rest after it passes." Days followed with an unexpected peace. Clara helped Mrs. Doyle, explored the library filled with carefully kept books, and found herself laughing more than she had in months. Evenings were spent reading by the fire, Harrison's rough voice soft with poetry, Clara reciting verses she thought she had forgotten. The house felt alive. But not everyone approved. A neighbor, Mrs. Whitmore, arrived one afternoon with pie and sharp eyes. Her smile tightened when she saw Clara. "People will talk," she said, her meaning clear. "Let them," Harrison replied, his voice firm. The talk began quickly. By Sunday, the weight of it pressed on Clara's chest. She sat beside Harrison in church, feeling every whisper, every glance. The sermon spoke of mercy and turning away those in need, and Clara wondered if anyone heard it. Afterward, the school board met. Clara waited outside the general store while Harrison argued on her behalf. When he came out, his jaw was set. "They denied it," he said quietly. "Said your circumstances raise questions." Clara felt the last of her hope slip. "Then I should leave," she said. "I've caused enough trouble." Harrison stopped the wagon and turned to her. "This isn't your fault. You're not leaving." But that night, Clara packed her bag anyway, tears falling onto folded dresses. Loving him meant protecting him, even if it meant walking away. Downstairs, Harrison stared into cold coffee, the house heavy with unspoken fear. The storm outside had passed, but a harder weather was settling in. And Sunday had only been the beginning. Clara did not sleep that night. She lay awake listening to the house settle, to the wind easing outside, to the soft creak of floorboards that told her Harrison was still awake too. Every sound reminded her that this warmth, this safety, was borrowed. And borrowed things always had to be returned. Before dawn, she rose quietly and finished packing her carpet bag. Each folded dress felt like a small goodbye. She paused at the quilt, her fingers lingering, then forced herself to let go. Loving someone did not mean staying. Sometimes it meant leaving before you destroyed what you loved. Downstairs, Mrs. Doyle was already awake. She sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee, eyes sharp and knowing. "Running away before sunrise is a young person's habit," Mrs. Copo Doyle said, "and a foolish one." Clara froze. "I didn't want to disturb anyone." "You weren't going to," Mrs. Doyle replied. "Harrison hasn't slept a wink. Neither have you. Sit." Clara obeyed, her strength suddenly. "I can't stay," she whispered. "The town won't forgive him. He'll lose respect. Business. Everything." Mrs. Doyle leaned forward. "Let me tell you something, child. Harrison Brennan lost everything that mattered 3 years ago. His wife, his child. Since then, he's been breathing, not living. You walked in and brought life back into this house, and now you think the kind thing is to leave? I think it's the only thing." "No," Mrs. Doyle said firmly. "The easy thing, the safe thing, not the right thing." Before Clara could respond, heavy footsteps sounded on the stairs. Harrison appeared in the doorway, his face drawn, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. "She's leaving, Mrs. Monet." Doyle said, not unkindly. And she's wrong. Harrison's gaze went to the bag at Clara's feet. Pain flashed across his face, sharp and unguarded. You weren't going to say goodbye? I didn't trust myself to, Clara said. I care too much. That's not a reason to go. It is when staying hurts you. Harrison crossed the room in 3 strides. Look at me. You are not hurting me. Losing you would. Silence stretched between them, heavy and trembling. Harrison, Doyle said quietly, either you speak now, or you watch her disappear down that road and regret it for the rest of your life. Harrison closed his eyes once, then opened them with resolve settling into place. Clara, don't leave. Not yet. Come with me to church on Sunday. One more time. Trust me. She searched his face, seeing fear and hope tangled together. And if it gets worse? Then we face it together. After a long moment, she nodded. All right. Sunday arrived cold and clear. Clara dressed carefully, pinning her hair with shaking hands. Harrison gave her a small silver brooch, worn but beautiful. My mother's, he said. Emily wore it on our wedding day. I want you to wear it. Her breath caught. Harrison... Just wear it, he said softly. The church was packed. Every pew full. Every eye turning as they entered together. Whispers followed them like a living thing. Clara's face burned, but she held her chin high. Harrison's hand rested steady at her back. The sermon was about mercy, about opening doors instead of closing them, about faith that lived beyond words. When it ended, Harrison stood. The sound of his boots on the floor echoed through the church. This town knows me, he said, his voice clear. Knows my family, knows my word. Clara Whitlock was abandoned on Christmas night. I did what any decent man should do. If that offends you, then look to your own hearts, murmurs rippled. But I'm not here to defend charity, Harrison continued. I'm here to declare intention. He turned to Clara and dropped to one knee. Clara Whitlock, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Will you marry me? Will you make my ranch a home and let me love you the way you deserve? The church went silent. Clara felt her heart hammering, fear and joy crashing together. She stepped forward, tears spilling freely. Yes, she said. Yes, Harrison Brennan. Applause broke out, hesitant at first, then stronger. Not everyone joined, but enough did. Enough. Outside, sunlight broke through the clouds as they walked out hand in hand. The town buzzed around them, unsure what to do with a love that refused to be ashamed. At the ranch that night, Clara stood at the window, watching the stars. Harrison came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. You sure? He asked quietly. She leaned back against him. I've never been more sure of anything. But the future was still uncertain. The school board had not changed their minds. Gossip still moved through town. Acceptance was not guaranteed. Yet something had shifted. The house felt different now, grounded by truth spoken aloud. Later, as they sat by the fire, Harrison took her hand. It won't be easy, he said. Some people won't come around. I know, Clara replied. But I've been alone. I can survive hardship. What I can't survive is walking away from something real. He smiled then, slow and deep. Then we'll build something real. Outside, the wind moved across the land, gentler now. Inside, 2 people chose courage over fear. But the town was watching, and the hardest test had yet to come. The town did not change overnight. Monday morning came with stiff smiles and averted eyes. When Clara walked into the general store beside Harrison, conversation stalled, then resumed in low murmurs. Some faces softened. Others hardened. Love had been declared, but acceptance was still being negotiated. Clara felt it everywhere, in the way women paused before greeting her, in how men measured Harrison with new curiosity, as if weighing whether courage was respectable or reckless. She held her head high, but each step took effort. The school board's decision stood, No apology. No explanation beyond quiet discomfort and vague concern. Clara pretended it did not hurt, but at night she cried silently beside Harrison, ashamed of the tears. "I can live without that job," she said once, voice shaking. "I can teach anywhere." "I know," Harrison replied, "but you shouldn't have to." Spring crept in slowly, stubbornly. Snow melted into dark earth. Clara began teaching ranch children in the library, reading lessons by lamplight. Parents watched from the doorway at first, cautious, then curious, then grateful. One afternoon, Mr. Porter's grandson stumbled through his letters and finally read a full sentence aloud. His mother covered her mouth, eyes shining. She hugged Clara without thinking. Word spread differently after that. The school board met again, quietly. No announcement was made, but a letter arrived at the ranch 2 weeks later. Clara's teaching position would be available in the fall, should she still desire it. Harrison read it twice, then handed it to her. "They're cowards," he said. "Maybe," Clara replied softly, "or maybe they're learning." Wedding plans were simple, no grand display, just truth, spoken plainly. Mrs. Doyle took charge with fierce joy, sewing, planning, humming through the house like it had been waiting for this task. On the morning of the wedding, Clara dressed in blue. Not white, blue for sky, for hope, for beginnings earned rather than assumed. She pinned Harrison's mother's brooch at her collar, hands steady now. The church filled again, this time with flowers and quiet smiles. Children scattered petals down the aisle. Harrison waited at the front, nervous and proud and utterly unashamed. When Clara walked toward him, something shifted in the room. Not forgiveness. Something deeper. Understanding. The vows were simple. "I promise shelter that becomes home," Harrison said. "Mercy that becomes love. I promise to choose you every day." Clara met his eyes. "I promise courage that becomes trust. Gratitude that becomes partnership. I promise to choose you every day." When they were pronounced husband and wife, the applause was real this time, not polite, not cautious. Real. They walked out into sunlight and wind, hands clasped, no longer asking permission to belong. That night, back at the ranch, Clara lit the old depot lamp and placed it in the window. The flame caught and steadied, warm and sure. "I thought my life ended on that platform," she said softly. Harrison pulled her close. "It just began there. Outside, spring settled over the land. Inside, the house breathed easy. 2 people, once abandoned and alone, had chosen mercy over fear. The lamp burned on, a quiet promise in the dark.